Pelican Bay State Prison would first open its doors in 1989 and today houses almost 2,000 minimum, medium, high, and max security custody inmates. On March 23, 2023 at approximately 2:10 p.m., Pelican Bay State Prison staff, including medical staff and corrections officers, would respond when incarcerated persons Nathaniel Dorswit and Derek Lance attacked incarcerated person Joseph Hill on one of the institution's yards. Staff was able to quell the incident, and Hill was taken to the prison's triage and treatment area for treatment of injuries he sustained from the attack. And although he was also transported to an outside local hospital, Joseph Hill would be pronounced deceased at 3:51 p.m.
We are following a developing story out of Point Loma tonight where federal agents shot an accused killer today.
10 News reporter Vanessa Van Hefty is at the scene on Catalina Boulevard with why the neighbors say public safety was compromised.
That accused killer is in critical condition and in the hospital, but he is expected to survive. Meantime, police are just wrapping up here. They've been busy processing the scene all day long. Agents with the U.S. Marshals Violent Task Force opened fire on the man in this black Ford Mustang, accused killer 44-year-old Joseph Hill. They tased him, but he kept driving, even pinning this federal agent in between his car and this SUV. That's when officers shot him multiple times. This man saw it all.
All of a sudden he just took off, and he was probably going, God, his 50 miles an hour in a very short amount of time. So then they started bam, 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 and they hit his tire.
Hill is accused of killing an acquaintance who lived here in Linda Vista. A motive has not yet been determined. Agents tracked Hill here today. Just down the street, we found stray bullets from the shooting. One pierced this bumper, another hit this Hummer. The owner, Lisa, didn't want to be identified, but was not happy with nearly being caught in the crossfire.
Public safety is first. I'm not sure that this was really worth all of the hassle that it's caused everybody all up and down this street. It's very scary to stop and think what could have happened. They say hindsight is 20/20. I would hope that somebody learns from this.
Police confiscated the bullet that was lodged here in the council. Lisa is just happy it didn't hit any children who typically walk to school at this hour.
Somebody was looking out for us. The kids are on vacation.
We did some digging and found that Hill has an extensive list of priors, from drug charges to failing to register as a sex offender. In Point Loma, Vanessa Van Hefty.
Accused of shooting and killing a Linda Vista resident back in 2013. Authorities later shot Hill and took him into custody. NBC 7's Matt Rascone is live downtown with more on what we've learned so far. Matt.
Jason, this morning we heard opening statements from both sides in the trial of Joseph Hill. Prosecutors arguing that the shooting was no accident. It was not an act of self-defense. They're actually arguing that it was premeditated, willful, and deliberate.
Ladies and gentlemen, evidence will show.
A Linda Vista man in his home back in 2013. NBC's Elena Gomez is at the downtown courthouse with details on this. Elena?
Well, Jason, more than a dozen people in support of that victim were inside the courtroom to hear that sentencing. Joseph Hill was sentenced to 147 years to life, and after the judge gave that sentencing, the crowd responded.
You're a criminal, and you will never see the light of day again. That's right.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Green Lit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. It means a lot that you are here. Really quick, before we jump into it, let's do the intros. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I really do appreciate it. If you do like it, go back, check out some other content, check out some of the videos, and let me know what you think. And you already know what it is, guys. If you're a returning viewer, member, subscriber to this channel, you are a huge part of the reason this channel has continued to grow at the rate it has, especially in 2025. So again, thank you. And lastly, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the comment button, engage in some conversation, and smash that subscribe button. Let's go. What's going on, you guys? Okay, so today's story, we're going to be sticking with the same theme that we've been following so far in 2025, and that is staying within the CDCR. This homicide, this attack that we're going to be covering took place in March of 2023. Joseph Hill, the victim in this case, I got some really good background information on him. You saw those news clips of him, his case, and, charges and the murders he committed. It was very got a lot of media attention, right? Got a ton of media attention. So I got some really good background information on him, as well as a little bit of information on one of our attackers. So we're going to be starting with the CDCR's website page. We're going to be talking about the attack on Joseph Hill. Then we're going to be getting into his background, as well as some of the background on Nathaniel Dorswit. But let's first start with the CDCR's article. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation officials are investigating the March 23rd death of an incarcerated person at Pelican Bay State Prison as a homicide. At approximately 2:10 p.m., Pelican Bay State Prison officers and medical staff responded when incarcerated persons Nathaniel Dorswit and Derek Lance attacked incarcerated person Joseph Hill on one of the institution's yards. Staff quelled the incident, and Hill was taken to the prison's triage and treatment area for treatment of injuries he sustained from the attack. He was then transported to a local hospital for a higher level of care. However, he was pronounced dead at 3:51 p.m. Officers recovered one inmate manufactured weapon. So that means out of the two guys attacking him, they only found one weapon. Odds are there's probably a second, but that's all they found. Dorswit, 26 years old, was sentenced to CDCR on November 9th, 2021 from San Bernardino County to serve a 15-year sentence for first-degree burglary and attempted second-degree murder, a second-strike offense. Lance, 48 years old, that's Derek Lance, was sentenced to CDCR on July 27th, 2016 from Orange County to serve a life sentence with the possibility of parole for attempted first-degree murder with assault with a deadly weapon and inflicting great bodily injury, also a second-strike offense. Joseph Hill, 53 years old, our victim in this case, was sentenced to CDCR on November 23rd, 2015 from San Diego County to serve a life sentence with the possibility of parole for possession of controlled substance for sale, possession of controlled substance while armed with a loaded firearm, battery with serious injury, first-degree murder, and attempted murder. 2 counts of use of a firearm, discharge of a firearm, and intentional discharge of a firearm causing great bodily injury or death, possession of or ownership of a firearm by a felon or an addict, inflicting corporal injury on spouse or a co-inhabitant, 2 counts of inflicting great bodily injury involving domestic violence, assault with force likely to produce great bodily injury, a third strike offense. So Joseph Hill was struck out, and man, that is a mouthful reading his charges. Officials have limited population movement on the yard to facilitate the investigation being conducted by the PBSP's Investigative Services Unit. Dorswit and Lance have been placed segregated housing pending the investigation. The Office of the Inspector General was notified, and the Del Norte County coroner will determine Joseph Hill's official cause of death. It also goes on to mention no staff members or additional incarcerated people were injured as a result of the incident. Okay, so Joseph Hill, hell of a background. We're going to be reading from an article from January 8th, 2014. So he was not only a murder suspect who was tracked by the U.S. Marshals, but he got into basically a gunfight with them, where he was shot and he was almost killed in that gunfight with the U.S. Marshals. This is from January 8th, 2014. Again, this is Joseph Hill, our victim in this case, his background. Our murder suspect, shot by the U.S. Marshals in Point Loma last month, made his first court appearance. This was on a Wednesday, January 8th. Joseph Anthony Hill, 44, was shot multiple times when he allegedly tried to flee on December 30th as he drove away. Remember, this is 2014. The marshals say Hill struck an officer with his car and pinned him against a parked vehicle. The team was trying to arrest Hill in connection with the death of Linda Vista man Sean O'Toole. Quote, what we understand to be a confrontation between the defendant, Mr. Hill, and Sean O'Toole, to which the defendant pulled out a gun and shot him in the chest. Deputy District Attorney Joe McLaughlin said at the arraignment, where bond was set at $2 million for Hill. The normal prison length for the charges are 50 years to life, but remember, like we talked about when we were reading off Hill's extensive criminal past, but McLaughlin said it could be longer because of Hill's 6 previous felonies. Okay, now that was from January 8th of 2014. They gave a little background information on the shooting that took place and a little bit into why he was running from the U.S. Marshals and the death of Sean O'Toole. This is actually an article from, we're going to go back really quick. This is an article from December 31st, 2013. This gives a little bit more information on Sean O'Toole and kind of explains why the shooting took place. It was actually over a drug debt. So December 31st, 2013 now. A 47-year-old man who was fatally shot in Linda Vista was identified Tuesday. Sean Austin O'Toole of San Diego was shot around 5 p.m. Sunday in the 2000 block of Drescher Street near South Elman Street, according to the San Diego County Medical Examiner's Office. Officers responding to the location learned that a man suffering from at least one gunshot wound had just been dropped off at a hospital, according to San Diego Police Lieutenant Jorge Duran. The man died a short time later. Duran said witnesses at the scene heard O'Toole say he was, quote, shot, Then he got into a vehicle and was driven out of the area. O'Toole also has an extensive criminal history, including convictions for assault with a deadly weapon. This is the Times San Diego reported. A suspect in the fatal shooting, Joseph Hill, 44, was shot and wounded by members of the U.S. Marshal Service's Fugitive Task Force on Monday in the 1600 block of Catalina Boulevard, Duran said. Hill was attempting to flee when he crashed a car into an officer, pinning him against a parked car, according to Duran. Hill was taken to UCSD Medical Center in Hillcrest, where he was in critical but stable condition. The officer was struck by Hill's vehicle, was taken to a hospital and treated for minor injuries, but was expected to make a full recovery. Okay, last article. He gets found guilty in April of 2015. This is Hill on all those charges. This is an article from November of 2015 for his sentencing. Applause erupted from the gallery of a San Diego courtroom Friday as a man was sentenced to 247 years behind bars for the murder of a Linda Vista man killed in his home 2 years ago. Quote, "You're a criminal. You'll never see the light of day again," a judge said to Joseph Anthony Hill, 46, the man found guilty in the murder of Sean O'Toole. As Hill was given the max sentence for the murder, 199 to life plus an extra 48, claps filled the courtroom. Hill smirked as the judge revealed his fate. More than a dozen of the victim's loved ones attended the sentencing, witnessing justice firsthand. This included the mother and brother of the murder victim, who both addressed the courtroom. Hill did not sit quietly through the family's comments. This got pretty crazy, guys. After O'Toole's brother called Hill a coward, Hill responded by yelling expletives about the victim, claiming the victim was a bully. While speaking before the judge, O'Toole's brother and mother talked about how their lives had been impacted by the murder. O'Toole's mother said the victim was a father, and now his son has to live without his dad. Quote, "Sean was not perfect. He never claimed to be perfect. He made some pretty poor choices in his life, and he paid the ultimate price," the mother said. Quote, "But he did not deserve to be murdered." At one point, a prosecutor said Hill had showed no remorse in this case. Hill yelled out that he agreed, saying he had no remorse at all. That's absolutely crazy. The victim's family asked the judge to enforce the maximum sentence in his case, which the judge agreed, also ruling that Hill will not be eligible for parole as he spends the rest of his life behind bars. Absolutely crazy. That was our victim in this case. So you kind of see what his life ultimately led to, which when you read these things out loud, you just realize what truly happens. And what I mean by ultimately happens is when you continue to make the wrong choice in life, even though you know what the right choice is, when you continue to live a life of crime, when you continue to live a life of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever it is, okay? There's going to come a day where there's no turning back. And Joseph Hill is exactly a prime example of that, where he kind of committed the ultimate crime, got the ultimate punishment, and then ended up losing. He paid the ultimate price while in prison. He lost his life. It's just, that's it. It's over. There, nothing more, nothing less. His life's over with. Okay, last thing we're going to be reading from Nathaniel Dorswit, one of Hill's alleged killers. This is kind of on his background and some crimes he was charged with. This is an article from December 30th, 2020. A 24-year-old man sought by the U.S. Marshal Services was arrested and booked Monday for a $1 million fugitive from justice warrant out of California, a sheriff's deputy report states. Nathaniel William Dorswit was taken into custody at 3:04 p.m. following an operation involving the U.S. Marshal Service, which met with Carson City Sheriff's Office investigators and deputies earlier to provide details on the suspect and possible location of where he was staying. According to the Barstow, California Police Department, Dorswit was wanted in connection with the November 29th shooting incident, according to the department's Facebook page, where an entry stated the following. Quote, "On Sunday, November 29th, 2020, at approximately 8:32 p.m., officers were dispatched to Barstow Community Hospital regarding a person with a gunshot wound. Officers arrived and found a male subject suffering from a gunshot wound to his arm. The victim reported that he was shot while driving through the Santa Fe Mobile Home Park in the 1500 block of West Main Street. Barstow police officers responded to the incident location, located evidence of the shooting, and basically Detective Matthew Helms responded to the scene, and as a result of an investigation, Dorswit was named as the prime suspect. And then from there, the chase is on, and Dorswit ended up being arrested. He ends up getting sentenced. And again, it all culminates with the death of Joseph Hill. And that's what you see all the time with these CDCR's website, is these guys go in on, to serve a 5-year sentence, 10-year sentence. In Dorswit's case, it was a 15-year sentence. Now he's involved in the murder. He's never going to get out. It's life without parole, LWOP. That's it. So anyway, really did some digging to find this story. I really hope you guys do enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and smash the subscribe button. Anyway, guys, until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.